growing up as a kid in a rural community, there's not a lot to do. And so our options kind of were go outside and play and figure it out. And so, you know, living in a small rural area means you're surrounded by woods, in this case anyway. And so that's what I did growing up, is my friends and I, we built tree houses and old growth rhododendrons and threw pine cones at people on the road and, you know, all other kinds of things. And really, you know, as far back as I can remember, that's what I did anytime I had any spare time, was we were playing out in the woods. And then as I got older and I got my driver's license and, you know, started to spread my wings, I realized one of our favorite things to do was go in the hills every weekend. Anytime I wasn't in school or at work, I'd be driving in my 4Runner and we'd be going up in the hills, and we called it our Sunday church. And every Sunday we would go and we would go find somewhere new to go, and we would go exploring. Where does that road go? And it always brought me like a sense of serenity, just being up there and turning my phone off. And sometimes I'd go alone. In retrospect, it wasn't smart because, you know, I didn't know where I was going and didn't tell anyone. But it was always my go-to place. And I continued to age, and I got a job in a restaurant industry, and I kind of stayed there for, you know, like 15 years. I was a bartender, I was a cook, I was a sous chef, I was a baker. You know, I wore all the hats in the restaurant industry. And it was pretty recently, you know, about the time I turned 30, that I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is kind of awful for me, you know. There's got to be more for me. And I was like, well, I'm still young. And so I went back to school, and I was looking at degrees, and I was like, what am I going to do with my life that's not working in a kitchen? And I thought about it, and I had to think long and hard and look at myself, and I realized I love being in the woods. I thought back to when I was in high school, and I would escape to the woods, and I was like, well, that's probably what I should do then. And so I went back to school for forestry. And so I graduated from Southwestern Oregon Community College during the pandemic. I went to school all online, which was an interesting experience in its own. And it was, you know, really challenging learning everything forestry related on my own, online, without the hands-on experience. It was really taught me to be a little more self-motivated. And I graduated, and I got a job as a seasonal weed technician, where I was spraying weeds for a watershed. And then I upgraded to timber cruising, and I learned it was a really valuable experience. And that kind of led me into my position now as a sudden oak death forester at the Department of Forestry. And that's pretty much my forest talk. Being a woman who knows the woods, you know, I think what's really important to me is it's really taught me that you always have to be evolving. You have to be, you know, it's just really self-reliant, learning how to be independent and trusting your instincts, and really just knowing that you can do it. And if you put your mind to it, you can make a difference. You can do what you want. And being a woman in the woods, it's, you know, there's been this stigma of women in the woods, and it's really interesting because now that I'm in the industry, there's not nearly as much negative talk as I had thought there was about women in the woods. And it's really awesome to see how much support that the whole timber industry does have for women, especially younger women trying to make an impact and make a name for themselves. It's been really interesting learning and seeing how everyone interacts with each other. And being a woman in the woods, it's kind of empowering, you know, and feeling like you're self-sufficient is something that I wouldn't trade any kitchen for.